How hard can fine art photography be? Well, that's what I'm going to try to find out in this video. I've come out to the East Yorkshire seaside town of Withernsea. Whoa, I'm going to get my feet wet here. And in the hope that I can take a picture of the waves rolling over a groyne, and then I can use that image for my fine art. But I wasn't counting on the fact that the tide's right in. So there's not many groynes exposed. But I'm going to have a wander round down this beachfront and see if I can find an exposed groyne to try to get a fine art shot of. I've just checked the tide times because I didn't before I come out. I was coming here, so I thought I would use this opportunity to try to take some fine art. Sadly for me, it's high tide is in 1.5 hours time. So it's about midday now. A high tide's 1:30. That means all these groynes that I can see that are poking through that don't look like they're very good shots are going to get much worse. So I think if I'm going to take a picture that I can turn into fine art, I'll have to take it right now. So for this first image, I've got the groynes lined up going left to right. And I've got this, I want to keep this big groyne at the front of the image to give you a little bit of foreground. And I'm focused right in the middle, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get smooth the water out. And I've got, I'm focusing about a third in, and I've got this horizon up there, the top of the screen. So I've got, at the minute, I've got half a second. That's all it's got, f8. And I've got my ND filter on the front of the camera. That's why I've got such a slow shutter speed. So I'm going to just take that shot now. 2-second timer. That's the first one. We can have a look at that. That's okay. It's quite a nice shot. It's softened the water out nicely. It's all right. But the nice thing is, what I'm going to try to do when I get home is smooth out that horizon so it blends, and that's what make it a nice fine art shot. That's my first one. I said I've got f8, but I think that's ideal. I think f8 is still a good aperture, and it won't give me any problems with the image. But if I then sort of change that and go up to, let's say, f11, that'll give me a slower shutter speed, 1 second, and that will give me a better shot. And I'll keep experimenting. I'll take that one. Here comes a wave just coming in, 2-second timer. Should have given me a nice little bit of white water. Lovely. That's nice. It's got this bit of foreground and that white water there. But as I said, I'm going to keep experimenting, and I'll try a couple more. I've come on to the other side of the groyne now from the one I was a minute ago, and I'm going to try and get this shot. So I've got, let's put this on f8, and I will go with a nice, a 1/4 second. Let's try that. Let's make sure I'm focused in the right place yet. That focus is good. So 2-second timer, and I've got a bit of sand. So I've got a little bit of reflection in the water at the bottom, which will give me a slightly different perspective. And I'll try this a few times and see if I can get a better shot. I've got a couple of pictures in the camera, and I'm just going to have a look around with this, have a walk around. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go home and edit these pictures, because if you didn't know, fine art photography is about 25% taking the photo and 75% editing the image in Photoshop and Lightroom. It might seem a bit dodgy. You think, might as well use AI. And you could say that, but there is some skill in the editing, and that's what it's all about, because you don't lose your horizon as a skill as a photographer. You lose your horizon as your skill, your knowledge of the applications used to edit your photos, and that's what it's all about. But they do look really amazing when they're done well, and if I can get anywhere near doing well, I'd be more than happy. I'm back from the beach now, which is a real shame because I enjoyed my little spell in Withernsea at the beach. And before I jump on my computer and have a look at the images I took, I just got a couple of little things to mention. Firstly, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, this is a great chance to do it. And if you have already, thank you. The second thing is, I'm a bit cautious because I think if you're a fine art photographer, you might say to me, well, it can't be fine art unless the exposure's been at least 1 minute or 2 minutes, whatever that number is. But that's not fine art for me. And I Googled fine art and AI told me that fine art is an emotional expression of photography. It could be 1/500th of a second, or it could be 5 minutes. And it's whatever my emotional expression is, what I want to bring out in the picture. So what that means, fine art could be anything, as long as it's an expression of your emotions, and that's it. So if fine art is a 1 minute exposure to you, then you're right, and that's perfect. But it isn't for me, or not necessarily for me. And the third thing I want to point out more than anything is that I am not a Photoshop expert, and I think you need a degree in Photoshop to be able to edit these fine art pictures and make them in those beautiful pictures where you have a glass clear sea, you have a super smooth clear sky, and you've got a little subject in the middle that stands out and almost looks like it's floating on water. That's not, I can't do that. I don't have the skills, the Photoshop skills to make that happen. And if you saw what I normally do, you'd probably laugh at my Photoshop skills. But I've had a crash course in Photoshop today to try to show you what I can do with these images, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's have a look on my computer. To demonstrate me editing these images into what I consider as fine art, I've actually selected 2 images, both of a groyne looking out into the sea. This one goes from left to right, and I've selected this one as well, which goes from right to left. So I'm going to first look at this first image, and what I've done for both of them, and this is what I wanted to tell you. I don't spend any more than 1 minute at maximum on editing any photos. So all I do most of the time is reduce my highlights, which I've done here. I will up the shadows, because I think this image, if you look at this image, it just benefit from having some higher shadows, because I think the detail in these groynes is really nice. I've increased the whites, and I use the Alt key to bring the whites up and then not blow them out, so I can do that nicely. I could drop the blacks a little bit, so I haven't done that, and then I've done a little bit of texture and a little bit of dehaze, and that's all I've done in Lightroom. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to convert that image and put that into Adobe Photoshop, and I'll do that now. Press the right key, Control E on mine, or Command E on an Apple, on a Mac, and then that brings me into Photoshop nicely. So here's the image in Photoshop, and you will be amazed at how simple this is for me. And all I'm going to do on this image pretty much is remove this horizon, because it's a real sharp horizon. It's got all these wind turbines in the way as well. So all I'm going to do is select my clone tool. I'm going to select somewhere that's miles away from those turbines. I'm going to so the clone tool, I've gone for 0 hardness, so it's really soft. And I've gone for about 500 pixels to give it a reasonable size, so I can actually cut off quite a bit of this the horizon. So I'm just going to do that, slightly place it above that horizon, and I'm just going to slowly scrape across the screen just like that. There's a little bit left there, so I'm just going to pick this up here, and then I'll just try and get that in there, and that's it, gone. That's the horizon gone. In fact, I'll pick that up a bit. It's gone up too much there, so I'm just going to drop it down. That's my horizon gone. How easy was that? But I do have this, so that matches that. So it looks doesn't look right, does it? So what I'll do, I will just pick this up here, and I'll just drag this across, try to lose it. I try to lose that by dragging it across. I'm going to do this a few times, and I'm going to try and just drag this across. It doesn't look fantastic, but I think it'll look all right in the end. It's gone there, so that's all. I just got to, there's a couple of bit of patches, so I'll just do just patch this up, and I'll just patch this up, and there's my horizon gone. That's gone. That's how easy is that? So now all I'm going to do with this image is I'm going to turn it into a black and white image. So I'm going to edit image, sorry. I'm going to go to the adjustments, and I'm going to say black and white. Done. That's that black and white image, but I'm not quite finished yet because it's a bit boring. It's a bit bland. It's got no oomph to it. So what I'm now going to do Control Shift and A to come into Camera Raw, and I'm going to put a linear grad in, and because I want to darken this sky and make the sky a bit more interesting, because at the minute it's a bit sort of grey and boring. So I'm just going to bring that sky down and make it really moody, just like that. And then what I'm also going to do is another linear grad and just bring up this bottom, just to sort of darken it off to, let's say, to mirror the sky. It's darker anyway, but I'm just going to give it a little bit of a sky mirroring, just doing that. And I'm just going to take that down a bit. It's almost like having a vignette. And that's that. So I think that immediately that looks better already. But one final thing I'm going to do, because I quite often post my images on Instagram, and I like to post my images at 4:5 ratio. That's what I kind of do on Instagram. So I'll do that. I'll just cut across to there. Don't need all this in, and that's good enough for me. That's my image done. That's my first one done. And you might think that's madness. You might think that's horrendous. What's that? That's not even very good at all. But for me, that's fine. I like that. It's really minimal, not much editing, and I'm quite pleased with that, if I'm honest. Yeah, I could spend a lot of time editing this and making it pretty, and doing all sorts of radial grads here and everywhere, and putting the light in the right place, of the lights coming from this side, darkening this end, or either way. But that's just too much hassle for me. So that's the first one. Now let's jump back over to Lightroom and we'll take the second one. That's simple. That's really easy, because the groins weren't intersecting the sky. That's simple. So the next one I'm going to choose is much more difficult for me, which is this image. And I quite like this image because it is intersecting the sky, so it's going to be a massive challenge for me. And it's got these little things here, which I quite like, these sort of drain hot covers or whatever they are, which is quite nice. I've got a super straight horizon, which is going to be a massive challenge for me because of these things. And once again, if you have a look at my edits, I've done highlights, done a few shadows, bring the shadows up. I might bring the shadows up again, but for now, I'm going to just leave those shadows where they were. And then I'm going to, I've done texture and I've done dehaze. That's it. That's that edited. You might think I probably could do with a little bit of a boost. Can't do it too much because it'll blow it out. So I've dropped it off actually. That's not very good. So I'll just take down the whites a little bit, and then I can increase the exposure a little tiny bit. Yeah, that's it. That's where I am. So I'm going to now put that into Photoshop, and let's have a look at my really challenging process of trying to get this done in Photoshop, if I can remember how to do it. So here we go. Let's put it into Photoshop. So this is much more complex for me because I'm really struggling. I've struggled to be able to work this out. But I guess the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate this layer. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I've seen other people duplicate layers, so I'm going to do the same thing so I don't lose it. Then the next thing I need to do is to select, this is my subject. So because that's where the sky is, it's intersecting the sky here. I want to select this and then isolate that in its own layer. So what I've done is I've just selected this with the magic wand tool. If I say select subject, it goes all wonky and doesn't do it. Let's just do that. So if I said select subject, and then, yeah, and you see what it does. It almost does it, but it doesn't do a very good job at all. I could do that. That looks all right. And then I could then just use the magic wand just to add all these extra bits. And then it kind of does a reasonable job. It's all right. It does extra bits. Look, so it is a bit wonky, but I'll go with that anyway. And I'll create a mask for that as well. Like I said, I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to masks. Then what I'm going to now do, so I've just got that saved, so I'm ready. That's ready. What I'm now going to do is select the sky. So I'm going to select the sky because I'm going to play on the sky now because I want to blend the sky in as best I can. It's not even up there still on. Better undo that. I should have selected my background layer. So I select the sky. I get too excited. But what I also want to do is select these bits. So I just hold Shift down, and I'll just do this and just pick those bits there, and that's all selected. So I'm going to create a layer out of that, And then I've got my sky layer, and I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on this sky layer. That's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to turn these off. Just going to work on this sky layer. So I want to, what I want to do is get rid of these turbines, and I also want to just bring this down a little bit because I want it to overlap a bit. So what I'm going to now do is I'm going to make a selection down here. I'm just going to select all that. And then I'm going to use the clone tool again. I'm going to do almost exactly the same thing as I did before. Just going to pick it up here, but I'm not going to be even with this. I'm just going to do this so that when I do obviously add the two layers, it doesn't look really, really bad. So I'm going to do this and just do a bit of that. I want it to just like that. So there you are. So that's if I turn that layer on, you can see that's looking good now. And then turn that layer on, you can see it's done a fairly decent job blending. But I've gone a bit too low here. So what I'm now going to do, turn it off, and I'm going to just push this back up a little bit. So by doing that, if I go Edit, Transform, and then Distort, then what I can then do is just push that back up. And if I then turn this back on, you can see, put these layers back on, it's a bit wonky. So I will sort that out. But the important bit is this. I'm just going to just move this layer down. I'll leave that on, and I'll just do Edit, Transform, Distort. And I'm going to just pull that down a little bit because I want it to just make sure it's covering these bits. The rest of it's all right. So I'm reasonably happy with that. So I'll take off that selection. It's looking all right. So yeah, believe it or not, I'm reasonably happy with that. So now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go to change this to black and white. Just like that. In fact, I'm not. I'm going to change it. I'm going to merge these layers. I should have done that in the first place. Crikey, I can't believe I'm getting all this wrong. And then I'm going to change it to black and white. So there's my black and white image. And the only thing is here, I've got a couple of things. That's got a bit of a lip going up there. So I need to just fix that. So I'll just do that, even though it looks like there's a bit of an horizon there. The other thing I've noticed about this is once I've converted it, this is one of the problems you get with these fine art shots, especially these smooth ones, is that those two groynes there, they look like they're just floating. That looks really odd to me. So what I'm going to take them out of the picture because I think that looks awful. I'm going to just reduce the size of it. So I don't need that big. So I'm just going to pick this bit here, and I'm just going to take these out, just like that. In fact, I've just slightly over-clipped that, so I'm going to just do that again. Just do that, and just take them out nice and easy. And that's that. That's kind of taking those out is quite nice. So now I'm going to go into Camera Raw, and I'm going to do the similar edits that I did the last one. So that's all nice and neat. I think the horizon looks good. You can't really see the horizon too much. It's blended. So what I'm going to do is do the same things before. Put a linear grad at the top, bring that sky down, make it a bit more interesting, a bit more dramatic, like that, just like that. That's dramatic. I'm going to chop some of this sky off anyway because I'll go into 5:4 mode. I'm also going to do a similar thing to the bottom. I'll do something else on this one and show that. I'm trying to do this as quick as I can really because it can take forever. Just drop that down to mirror the sky. And then the other thing I'm going to do is just bring out these reflections of these groynes. So I'm going to just do that. I'm going to create a radial gradient and then just bring down the, just like that, just to darken those groynes off a bit to make them stand out a bit more. Just bring that down there. It doesn't need to be too much, but just darkens it up. And I do one more because I've got this one here. Another radial gradient there. And I'm going to drop that down. So make darken that. There's another one there, but I'm not going to do that one. So that's that. So I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that. In fact, it's actually before what I'm going to do, but I thought I would, I'm going to bring these shadows up a little bit. And it's brightened the whole scene, but it just brings out these groynes, gives it a bit more definition. So that's that. So I'm happy with that. Nice moody sky. The bottom reflects it. And then once again, all I'm going to do is put it into, actually, I could leave it like that really, but then in 5/4 that way, because I want to keep this in. I want to keep those lines in, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it the other way. So I'm just going to put it 5/4 like that. I'll just drop that down a bit like that. That could go on a third. So I know you're thinking, well, you did all that sky work and now you're losing it all, but that's all right. I'm happy with that. And yeah, that's it. That's my workflow, if you like, of of my fine art shots, and I'm reasonably happy with that. That looks a bit dodgy, so I might have to have a look at that, because that doesn't look right. But generally, I'm reasonably happy with that. So hopefully you've enjoyed it too. Thank you very much indeed for watching this video. I hope it's been interesting. I hope it's not been too sad seeing me make all the Photoshop mistakes and etc. But if you have found it interesting, why not give it a like? 'Cause that'd be awesome. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.